Yo, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Fantasy Football Prodigy channel. And in this video, I'm going to be doing a little draft recap from my recent auction draft that I did over on ESPN Fantasy. It's a 10-team league, Superflex as well, which is pretty fun. You got 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, and a regular flex as well. $200 budget. So basically, if you don't know what an auction draft is, someone nominates a player, everyone in the league bids on that player, and the highest bid gets that player on their roster. So there's a lot of strategy involved with knowing when to save your money versus spend up. That's why it's kind of good to have a tier list of players, so once this tier of running back or tier of wide receiver is close to running out, that means you want to make sure you might have to spend up a little bit more to make sure you get that position locked down. This is the 5th year of this league. The very first season in 2019, I got 2nd place. 2020, I got 1st place. I liked my drafts, but the last couple of seasons, 21 and 22, I did not like my drafts at all. I wasn't very smart with my spending. I kind of just blew a lot of money early on, didn't get too many bargains, and I wasn't even top 3. But this year, 2023, is going to be different. I actually like my team a lot this year, and we're going to get into that roster right now. Make sure to drop a like and subscribe, and here we go. All right, so here is my team over here, the AL Ironmen. One thing to note about a Superflex league is that it is basically a 2-quarterback league. You want to be starting 2 quarterbacks. You want to leave the draft with 3, maybe even 4, depending on who you have. So you want to make sure you secure that position. I like to have at least 1 stud quarterback in a 2-quarterback league. In the past, I know that this league has not valued quarterbacks as much as they should in a 2-quarterback league, but this year they definitely kind of bid those guys up. So I think people are kind of figuring out the 2-quarterback strategy. But in a 2 QB league, if you look at, any sort of rankings list, you're going to still have McCaffrey, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase up there high on the list. But you're also going to have Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts in line with those guys, if not higher. So if you look at Fantasy Pros, Patrick Mahomes is the #1 player. I was able to get him for $45, and this is a $200 budget, remember? Whereas a guy like McCaffrey went for $47. Jamar Chase went for $56. Austin Eckler went for the same as Mahomes. Travis Kelce went for $55. Justin Jefferson, who I wanted very badly, went for $57. And I'm a Vikings fan, and most of the people in this league are Vikings fans. So there's a reason he was, I think, the most expensive player in the draft. One of them, if not the most. It looks like he was the most expensive. But to get Mahomes for a cheaper value or on par with some of those guys still shows that the quarterbacks are not quite as highly valued as they should be. So that was my first pick, and he was my only pick for quite a while. I did have to kind of watch some of those top tier running backs and wide receivers go off the board because they were just going for so much money. And I knew from the last couple of seasons, I don't want to spend too heavy early on because in those middle rounds, there are some insane values that you can get. For example, I think I did really, really well in building my starting lineup. After that Mahomes pick, I got Rhamondre Stevenson. I think his value is a little suppressed right now just because of Ezekiel Elliott signing there. This is a half PPR league as well, so Rhamondre Stevenson should be used in the passing game. He was a great value last year, and I think the Zeke signing, while there might be some merit to him getting some goal line carries, I think Rhamondre Stevenson is still going to pay off at this value, about a 10.5% worth of my budget. That's very, very solid. And then at wide receiver, I was able to get Keenan Allen for 9% of my budget, $18. So it's a $200 league. So if you want to translate it to $100, just cut it in half. It'd be $9 in a $100 league. To me, that's a great value. I do think the Chargers offense is going to be much better. Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, hopefully they can stay on the field this year. I do think Justin Herbert is going to have an amazing season. I wish I could have got him, but I didn't in either of my leagues so far that I've drafted. But Keenan Allen, he's not really a league-winning type of wide receiver. He's no Justin Jefferson or anything like that, no Devontae Adams, but he's going to get targets, he's going to get yards. Not a big touchdown guy. They brought in Quentin Johnston, the rookie, so we'll see how that plays out. But at that value, sort of as someone to stabilize that receiver core, I couldn't pass up on it. Deebo Samuel, listen, I have a long history with Deebo. I drafted him in our Dynasty League in the 3rd round. He sort of had flashes, but he was very injury-prone. well, a fellow league mate of mine had Chase Claypool coming off of a 10, 11 touchdown season, whatever it was. People were calling him Mapletron. Long story short, he sent me a request. Hey, I will give you Chase Claypool. You give me Deebo Samuel. I make the trade. Chase Claypool hasn't had a usable game for fantasy since then, I'm pretty sure. And Deebo Samuel that season went on to be the wide receiver 2, not a wide receiver 2, the wide receiver 2 behind Cooper Kupp in his historic season. I think pretty much every other year Deebo would have been the wide receiver 1. But that same year, I also did draft Deebo in a redraft league, so I was able to reap the benefits of him popping off. And then last year, he didn't really have as electric of a season. We have some quarterback carousel stuff going on there. It looks like it's Brock Purdy as of this recording. Trey Lance is gone, Jimmy G is gone, and I don't think Sam Darnold is taking over anything. So, long story short, Deebo Samuel has been up and down. It's been a roller coaster. For $14 as my wide receiver 2, I can't pass on that. Maybe he's my wide receiver 1. Maybe he's my wide receiver 3. We'll see how it plays out. But at 7% of my budget, with the spending I had done at that point, I couldn't say no to that. And then I did pull the trigger on my second quarterback very early. I did spend up again at the position. Justin Fields at the end. Listen, I have a guillotine draft tonight. And Justin Fields was my quarterback early on in the season, and it wasn't pretty. He was terrible for fantasy. But then the offense unlocked. They let him use his legs, and he was absolutely dominant for fantasy. He could not be stopped. And I knew I wanted him really bad. It was kind of comparable to Justin Hurts, or Jalen Hurts, not Justin Hurts, sorry. Justin Fields, Jalen Hurts, whoops. Where going into this draft last season, and all my other drafts, I knew I wanted Jalen Hurts. I wanted to trade for him in Dynasty, but my opinion of him based on the consensus was too high. And I thought, I can't trade this draft capital in my Dynasty league. I can't reach for him in these redraft leagues. I can't pay up for him. And I really regretted not getting Jalen Hurts because rushing quarterbacks are a cheat code in fantasy. And it looks like people are a little more savvy with Justin Fields or a little more onto him. He's usually going in the third or fourth round of drafts, depending on how many teams there are. I did have to pay $40 to get him. If you look at other quarterbacks across the league in this draft, I got Mahomes for only $5 more. Josh Allen, only $5 more he went for. This team got Joe Burrow for $30. I think if you compare those two, a lot of people would maybe just take Burrow over Fields straight up. And the fact that I had to pay 10 more for him, it shows that I am shooting my shot. I will say that Joe Burrow did go before Justin Fields, so if I had known I could have got Burrow for a little cheaper, maybe I would have. You even look later in the draft, a guy like Aaron Rodgers, Geno Smith going for $5, $6. Trevor Lawrence was a raging bargain at 17. Value-wise, I'm not sure if I really hit on this Justin Fields pick, but I do know that I wanted him very badly. Jalen Hurts himself only went for $7 more bucks. We know that he's good. We know that he can throw. We know that he can run. We know he has a great team, great weapons. It's not as clear in Chicago with Justin Fields. But again, Jalen Hurts went before Fields. Had I known, who I could get for what price, Dak for 12, maybe I would have done things a little differently. Lamar Jackson went for 40, the same price as Justin Fields. Just a few picks earlier. Herbert went for 37, a guy that I said I really like. I think he's going to have a great year. Jared Goff, Daniel Jones, $6 and $13. So there were definitely some better values in this draft, but I am still calling my shot on Justin Fields having a great season. He has the potential to be a top 3 quarterback if he uses his legs. They brought in DJ Moore. They still have Mooney. So, it's going to come down to his, fantasy is broken for rushing quarterbacks. So will he run? Hopefully. Darren Waller is another guy that I was really targeting, that I really wanted. And I got him for $15, so 7.5%. I did have to get in a bit of a bidding war with him for him. I like that I didn't have to spend $55 to get a Travis Kelce, or how much did Mark Andrews go for? He went for 23. So I did get a little bit of a discount for Darren Waller. He did go for a fair amount, obviously. Guys like Evan Ingram going for $3. Kyle Pitts for 9. I would still rather have Darren Waller for 15 there. But you can kind of see the values at tight end. Hawkinson went for 14. Kittle went for 6. Freiermuth went for 3. Dallas Goedert went for 5. That is a insane value in my opinion. So kind of like the Justin Fields pick. I'm happy with it, but there were some other values there. But all reports are that Darren Waller looks great, and he could arguably be the Giants' #1 target, just because they have a weaker receiving core. So I think I'm very happy with that pick. And then Kenneth Walker is another guy whose value might be a little bit suppressed with the addition of another running back. I talked about it with Rhamondre, with the Patriots bringing in Ezekiel Elliott. Obviously, the Seahawks drafted Zach Charbonnet, rookie running back, very early in the draft. It was a little bit surprising. I'm not sure why they did that, but it appears that Kenneth Walker is still the starter. And while I wouldn't pay premium RB1 draft capital for him at that point, I still think at $19 as my, running back 2, possibly my running back 3, depending on how some other things play out, I think that is definitely worth that price. I think it's fair that his value is suppressed, but I don't want to put him on a do not draft list, if that makes sense. So, speaking of do not draft, this draft occurred before Travis Kelce hyperextended his knee or whatever. Cooper Kupp was dealing with that hamstring issue. We'll see how it plays out. There's a lot of mystery going on, but he went for $30. I just thought I should note that because he was pretty much on my do not draft list just because, in a redraft league with the type of draft capital, with the opportunity cost of taking that risk on, you're losing out on someone that could be just as good or close to it and not have the same risk. So hopefully he's on the field and he's playing well because he's an awesome player to watch, but a little risky right now, but he did end up going for $30. And I actually don't think this team wanted him. I don't know. He was telling me he didn't want to draft him. Sometimes on ESPN, it'll auto bid if you leave the app for like 2 seconds. So it's kind of annoying. But anyways, I digress. Speaking of values, though, these two guys are two of the best values in any league. Mike Evans and Tyler Lockett, I got them each for $7. $7 each. That's insane. I know Mike Evans he finished all right last year, but it was very inconsistent. A lot of his production was on the back of one big game in the championship week, I'm pretty sure. But that whole offense was just not great. Tom Brady wasn't his usual Tom Brady self. And I know they're bringing in Baker Mayfield, which doesn't necessarily bode well for that improving. But I just think naturally with the talent that Mike Evans has, I think things will be a little more even. And from my understanding, Baker does throw like a pretty good deep ball. He's not afraid to let it loose. So I think he could have some big plays for Mike Evans. So again, I'm not drafting him as my wide receiver 1. I'm drafting him, as my second or third or fourth wide receiver for basically nothing. $7, like that's insane. That's such like I'm still just flabbergasted that I got him for that price. Like that's crazy to me. Tyler Lockett, same thing. They brought in Jackson Smith-Njigba. Don't care. He's a value every season. Eventually, he's going to age out or the rookie will take over or something will happen where he's not good. But at $7, I'm willing to take that chance that he's just going to be a 1,000-yard receiver again. And then Cam Akers, $7. It just got to a point in the draft where people were kind of running out of money and they didn't want to spend on a guy with question marks. But we saw him, there was a lot of up and downs last season. It looked like he might not even stay with the team. But he is the starting running back for the Rams and the clear lead back. And down the stretch last season, he was unbelievable. So as my, running back 2 or 3 with Rhamondre and Kenneth Walker, I am very confident that at least one of those guys will be a stud. Hopefully 2 of them can be valuable. And if all 3 hit, that's great. But if not, I kind of use the rest of my draft taking guys with upside, but that I can let go. So Derek Carr, I just drafted for a couple bucks as my quarterback 3. There were a couple guys I was targeting late, but he's the one I ended up getting. I was trying to get Baker Mayfield as well, but Carr was nominated first. I bid $2 on him, and I got him. And then KJ Osborn, I just put in a bid for him. I honestly was hoping someone would outbid me. I am a Vikings fan, but it was kind of the thing where if I get him, great. If not, oh well. I ended up getting him for $1. Justin Jefferson and TJ Hawkinson are the top targets there. The Vikings just drafted Jordan Addison. Addison should be the wide receiver 2 eventually, if not week 1. But KJ Osborn could have some early season value if they ease Addison into it, which they actually did with Justin Jefferson as well. If you guys remember, Justin Jefferson's rookie season, he was not a week 1 high usage player. He was on fantasy waiver wires for a few weeks. So we'll see what happens. Then after that, Samaje Perine, Jaylen Warren, Tyler Allgeier, and Tank Bigsby. These are all backup running backs. That's what they are. I do think each of them has a chance to have their own role. And if even one of them hits and I can flex them or use them at running back during bye weeks or with injuries, I'm happy. I got them all for $1. Perine is the backup to Javonte Williams, who's coming off that catastrophic injury. There's a lot of injuries going on in Denver to their offensive weapons. Sean Payton has success with using running backs, especially for fantasy. They put up points, so hopefully he'll be used in the passing game a little bit with Javonte. Jaylen Warren for the Steelers. I think there will be a little bit of a duo with Najee. Najee is the clear lead back, but Jaylen Warren looks like a good player, and he might be able to carve out his own role, and that would be great. Maybe offer some flex value. And Tyler Allgeier, I believe he set the Falcons' rookie rushing record last season. Obviously, they spent a high draft capital pick on one of the best running back prospects ever in Bijan Robinson, who's clearly going to be the lead back. But last season, the Falcons ran the ball so much that Bijan can get a huge workload, and there's still enough for Allgeier to carve out his own role and potentially have flex value. And then Tank Bigsby, I believe he had day 2 draft capital. He was either a 3rd or 4th round pick to kind of compete for touches with Travis Etienne. I'm not sure if Travis Etienne is really, if he has solidified himself as an every week bell cow running back. Maybe he has, but Tank Bigsby has potential to, again, carve out a role, offer flex value, and the same thing is true for all 4 of these players. If the starter goes down, they each become the number 1 waiver wire pickup of that week. That doesn't mean I'm going to hold on to them all season in hopes of that. But if there is a player that is able to offer flex value, I'm going to hold on to them. And hopefully, if someone goes down, I would never hope for an injury, but if someone goes down, then I would be able to use them for my team in a greater capacity. That opens up trade windows. You can, you have more flexibility. So this is the way the team looks. I did put in a waiver claim for Allen Lazard over KJ Osborn. Allen Lazard just projects to be a little higher up on the depth chart at wide receiver than KJ Osborn. So Garrett Wilson is clearly the number 1 target there, but Rodgers and Lazard have some history, so I figured I'll just go with Lazard. See if that pans out. But yeah, here's the team. I think the starting lineup is very good, especially in a 2-quarterback league, to have Mahomes and Fields and still be able to feel really good about all my starters. I don't have a McCaffrey, I don't have a Devontae Adams, I don't have a Stephon Diggs, but I have really, really, really solid skill position players all across the board. Tyler Lockett versus Cam Akers is something I'm deciding on for week 1 in the same game, ironically enough. And to be able to make that decision is honestly a privilege because those are both pretty much auto starts for most teams. The bench is a little weak, but in my opinion, when I'm in an auction draft, I'm okay being a little top heavy. I went a little too much on the top heavy approach where I had no depth at all. I think with this team, I have good depth. I have a very complete starting lineup. I have enough depth to put a guy like Tyler Lockett or Cam Akers on the bench. I have a solid 3rd quarterback. If I only, Derek Carr, he's not going to probably win you a league, but when you have these 2 guys, he's strictly a bye week fill-in, and hopefully injury doesn't occur, and he can hopefully fill in admirably if there is an injury to Mahomes or Fields. But I really like this team, and I wasn't able to build depth all the way to the last roster spot, but that is not important. If you do a regular redraft league, your last pick is probably not going to be that good. And these are people that I can cut. Osborn/Lazard and these 4 running backs. These are guys where if week 1 comes out and they're not seeing usage, I can cut them and I can add someone else off the waiver wire. You need people to be able to cut week 1 because that is when you see the usage of certain players. You see how things pan out. Right now, it's all preseason, it's all training camp, it's all projections, it's all camp reports. When the season starts, you're going to see who's actually on the field, who's getting targets, who's getting carries, who's being used in the passing game, who's in on 3rd down, stuff like that. So there's going to be a lot more clarity, and hopefully I will have someone to cut. I know that sounds weird to say, but yeah, I think this is a very good build. Top to bottom, I really like it. We're going undefeated, and a championship will be returning to the AL Ironmen. And yeah, bros, that's going to do it for the video. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Please make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the video. Good luck if you guys are still drafting. I have a guillotine draft going on in 5 minutes, so wish me luck. I need some vengeance from last season not going so well. But yeah, bros, I'll see you later. Peace out. Make sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.